Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MLW Vault, episode number 2. We're back after about 2-3 day break after we went down overall my top 10 MLW players of all time. In today's episode, we are going to be filling out my 2024 MLW Award Ballot in Vault podcast style with extensive research. We have almost every single nominee's stats from the entire year and the postseason, all from the MLW website, to make our best decisions for the winner of every single award. So that is what we're going to be doing in today's episode, going with the times. Right now, the day I'm recording this, it is January 10th, and the ballots close on January 11th, so getting this out just in time. As we're going to be going over every single award and then ultimately finding out which player we think deserves to win each award. Pretty straightforward. And a little PSA before going into this. I right now do not know my answers to the awards right now. So I think I know all but pretty much one. But I think so ultimately we're just going to kind of be going through this together. We're going to be kind of finding out who we really think deserve each one of these episodes, kind of looking at all the stats that they posted, the stats they had in the postseason. I think it also makes a really big point how far their team went. Of course, if they were a monumental part to their team. So, I mean, we're just going to kind of grade all of that and try to figure out the best of every award. So, yeah, that's kind of straightforward. That's pretty much it. So we're just going to be filling out our 2024 MLW Award Ballot live in person. But before we do get started, let's jump into our quick segment of Around the League, where every episode we go into what is happening in the league at this time. On the day I'm recording this, it is Wednesday, January 10th. And like I just said, MLW 2024 award voting is open and it closes on Thursday, January 11th. So tomorrow for me. So if you have not filled out the ballot, be sure to do it quickly. I will link the ballot at the top link in the description of this episode. So vote if you haven't already, because it closes either tonight or tomorrow night. And then hopefully the video comes out maybe by the end of the month, probably. Sometime in February. And then I also just remembered, guys, we might have a new 50-50 this year, because this is the Magic first ever World Series championship. So, kind of a tradition there in MLW when Kyle puts together a documentary for the championship winning team when they won the World Series. Not the first time the Magic did it, because they don't have one. So, little something to look forward to. It'll be all right, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, let's jump into filling out our 2024 ballot. That's next. All right, so without further ado here, let's jump into the number one award, the top award on the ballot, which is the 2023 Rookie of the Year. Now, there are 3 nominees from the group of 8 rookies, or I guess probably 6 or 7 that actually saw playing time. Believe it or not, probably one of the first times ever in MLW history. I don't know if this is the first, but all 3 nominees are from one team. So the 3 Rookie of the Year nominations this year go to A.J. Ackerman of the Metro Magic, Grant Miller of the Metro Magic, and R.J. Walgate as well of the Metro Magic. 3 rookies that have won a ring in their very first year, more rings than Drew Davis has. I'm sorry. So starting off here with AJ Ackerman, in the regular season, he put up a 125 batting average with 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and a 4.27 OPS through 8 games. So that's another kind of thing to keep in mind. Like you say, he only has 1 home run and 2 RBIs. Well, that is because he only played in 8 out of the 15 games, so barely over half. And then Ackerman in the postseason, that is when his batting or his entire hitting stats took a massive jump. In I believe the 7 games that the Metro Magic played in the 2023 postseason, Ackerman posted up a 294 average with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs with a similar 429 OPS. So that means he tripled his home runs and he quadrupled his RBIs just in the postseason. I think he was a massive, massive part to the Magic ultimately winning the World Series. And I mean, doubled his average. OPS kind of stayed the exact same, but if you think about it, in the 8 games that were played in the regular season with AJ Ackerman at the plate, and the 7 games, I don't even know. He might not have played all 7 games. But I mean, a lot of these stats did come in the World Series, so very right that he won World Series MVP in those at least 4 or 5 games that he played for the Magic. I mean, just unbelievable. 3 home runs in one series, nonetheless, putting it in the World Series is pretty ridiculous. So AJ Ackerman, obviously a very, very big part to the Magic winning the World Series. He has 1 inning pitched all year long, so those stats don't really count. And of course, he was the 2023 World Series MVP. So that is AJ Ackerman's resume. Very, very solid. Was a undrafted free agent that was signed by Jack Agner. And I mean, obviously paid off very, very well. So AJ Ackerman, that was what we got for him. Next up, the other Magic with possibly somehow even better batting stats is nonetheless the himself, Mr. Grant Miller. His regular season hitting stats are unbelievable, and he even didn't make a series. So he played this in 12 games, probably 3 games short than any other team or any other player in the batting average stats, but he put up a nearly 500 average, going 483 with 5 home runs and 15 RBIs with a 712 on base percentage again through 12 games. And then when he played in the postseason, the exact same numbers, but just in a smaller like sample space, put up a 389 average with 1 dinger and 4 runs batted in with a 607 OPP. Of course, uh, first his rookie season pitching stats obviously didn't go as planned. We know the infamous game number 1 on this season against the Gators, where he put up a 6, or was it? I think it was 8 runs that he put up. But overall, in the regular season, he had 2 mound appearances, went 0 for 2, put up a pretty bad 7.36 ERA, in under 4 innings pitched. So not great. A high 3 whip. So we're not really going to try to grade Grant Miller on his pitching stats, but a player we can grade his pitching stats, that is Mr. R.J. Walgate, the rookie phenom himself. Overall, did not see a lot of plate appearances all year long. 5 at-bats, 0 hits and 0 home runs, and 0 postseason ABs. But in the regular season, an outstanding 7-1 record with 9 starts, posting a barely over 1 ERA at 107 and a 150 whip. And in the postseason, he had, again, just like a miniature amount of those, and still unbelievable numbers. 5 starts with a 4-1 record in the postseason and a 138 ERA with 31 strikeouts. Unbelievable here. I think to try to pick the winner here, I am ultimately going to try and um, eliminate AJ Ackerman out of the runnings here. I just think overall, Miller and Walgate had more impressive seasons. So AJ Ackerman, we are going to eliminate him from the Rookie of the Year, but I know his name pops up and other spots on this ballot. So between Grant Miller and RJ Walgate, I mean, it's really just what matters more, pitching or hitting in today's MLW. And I mean, honestly, I think pitching is a bigger need, and I think it was a bigger need for the Metro Magic. And even that Walgate one wasn't even like expected to do anything all year long, and then he comes in and is their ace, and he starts for the American League All Stars on the mound. So, um, man, this is tough. Miller, of course, just out of this world, hitting stats. Pitching wasn't great. But I think my 2023 Rookie of the Year is going to go to RJ Walgate. I just think Grant Miller should win other awards. And just because, Miller, of course, he had the expectation of being the Ryan Cratch what Ryan Cratch is to the Preds. I think he was projected to be that for the Magic, kind of similar to Ryan Cratch and Jimmy Norp and Kyle Schultz, where they have the best hitter and the best pitcher on the team are the same person. And I think that's what a lot of people were expecting out of Grant Miller. But overall, I mean, he disappointed on the mound. I think it'll be interesting to try to see him take the bump again come 2023. But I mean, obviously the Magic have a good rotation right now with Walgate and then Bonham backing him up. So we're gonna go with RJ Walgate winning 2023 Rookie of the Year. I mean, that pitching stats out of nowhere for him to be. I listened to the Pipe It Up podcast where Jack was kind of reflecting on the whole Magic season, and he said that Walgate was a guy they were not expecting to give a lot of playing time. Let's say, well, he'll get an inning there, and he'll get another inning here and play. Maybe try to get him 2 innings pitched on the mound all year long, and then he comes out and pitches a 7-1 record and a 4-1 in the postseason. Really kind of put this team on his back, especially in the Magic in their World Series comeback. I think RJ Walgate winning Rookie of the Year should definitely have his name all over it. Next up here, we have the 2023 Cy Young. Now, I believe every single year, deciding on Cy Young and Silver Slugger, which is next, every year just keeps getting more difficult and difficult because the league keeps getting more and more competitive here. As for the Cy Young, we have 5 very, very strong nominees here. So we're going to start it off here. Number 1, first nominee for the 2023 Cy Young of the Eastern Eagles, we have Dallas Allen, one of really, I think, was the heart and soul to the Eagles taking down the Diamondbacks in the NLDS, and then the Mallards in the NLCS to stretch them even up to a 2-0 lead in the World Series, which, of course, infamously would end up blowing. But in the regular season, Dallas Allen posted a 5-2 record with a 104 ERA, 165 WHIP, 51 strikeouts, and 23 innings pitched. Very, very solid. That 5-2 record definitely helped the Eagles in their regular season efforts. I think Dallas was a big helper to the Eagles. In their last 9 games after starting 1-5 to really, really bounce back. I mean, there was a shot where people were saying, "Man, are the Gators going to make the cut over the Eagles?" But come on, we know the Gators aren't making the postseason. But talking about the postseason, Dallas Allen put up a 5-3 record, 5 wins in the regular season, 5 wins in the postseason. Little higher, 1.48 ERA with 1.48 WHIP, and then a postseason leading 55 strikeouts and 22.1 innings pitched. Ultimately, Dallas Allen would end up losing in the Cy Young, but makes sense that Allen leaded the postseason with 51 or 55 strikeouts. I mean, Allen, that kid just keeps getting better and better. I think it is very much a safe statement to say that right now, Dallas Allen is the face of the Eagles. For years, years. I don't know about 2010. Maybe that was Brenda Schultz. Maybe Rachel. But at least from 2013, we'll say 2010. From 2010 to at least like 2022, maybe 2021, Daniel Schultz was the face and leader of the Eastern Eagles. He was the best hitter. He was the best pitcher. But now I talked about this a lot, why Daniel was at 4 instead of 3, where Cratch was in my all-time list, is just because Daniel Schultz has kind of stalled out in this draft era of MLW. I mean, it's just the truth. Nowadays, I think Dallas Allen could probably be the best hitter and pitcher on the Eagles. He's for sure the best pitcher. I could stay in a world where maybe Daniel could be the best hitter on the Eagles, but so far, I think without a doubt, Dallas Allen, nonetheless, definitely deserves to be a nominee here for Cy Young. Very, very solid all year long. I mean, overall, having a 10-5 record on the mound your entire season is pretty tremendous, having that double-digit pitching win. So Dallas Allen, the number 1 nominee. He's followed up by a tough one, too. 2 players that had a very, very similar regular season. The second nominee for Cy Young is Mr. Jimmy Norp. He went 5-2, same as Dallas Allen, with a 1.25 ERA, a little bit higher, 1.62 WHIP, pretty much identical WHIP, 50 strikeouts and 24 innings pitched. So that is actually really funny how similar they are. That's funny. Dallas Allen and Jimmy Norp share a record at 5-2. Their WHIP is .03 off. Dallas Allen has one more strikeout, and Jimmy Norp has one more innings pitched. Those are nearly the exact same resume. But I mean, postseason is definitely where it separates. Jimmy Norp, of course, the D-backs round one exit with a 1-2 record, 1.33 ERA, 1.33 WHIP, 12 strikeouts, and 9 innings pitched in their loss to the Dallas Allen-led Eagles in the NLDS. So, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see Jimmy Norp as a true candidate for this award. I mean, I think I agree that he deserves a nomination, but nonetheless, I think if I had to pick between these two, Dallas Allen does beat out Jimmy Norp in my mind for this award. So Norp, of course, just keeps getting better and better. Another ridiculous season for him. But like I said, I do believe Dallas Allen does get the edge over Jimmy Norp there in Cy Young. So next up here, we have one of my favorite players, in my opinion, arguably one of the best players in MLW, Ryan Cratch of the Pacific Predators. He had a 5-4 record in the regular season with a league-leading 1.00 ERA with a 1.54 WHIP, a league-leading ridiculous 84 strikeouts, and another league-leading 33 innings pitched. So Cratch, the only thing that I think if his record was a little bit better, I think he could have locked in the Cy Young this year, but a 5-4 record, that part scares me a little bit, but still, nonetheless, a 1.0 ERA with 84 strikeouts is ridiculous. In the postseason, Preds played 2 postseason series. He pitched every single game. Overall went 2-3 with a high 1.91 ERA. But still, oh my God, 40 strikeouts, unbelievable. Cratch is one of the most dominant pitchers in the league, I think. I mean, watching him absolutely tear up the Cobras in their regular season meeting in 2023. I mean, that is when you just realize that Ryan Cratch is just on a different level than any other pitcher. I think I'll make an episode probably in the very, very far future in a couple months or so where I will kind of break down who I think are the top 10 players coming into 2024. And I'll tell you right now, I think Ryan Cratch is number one. I don't really think he could win Cy Young or Silver Slugger or MVP. He could win MVP this year, although I think I have already a pick for my most valuable player. But Cratch, nonetheless, he's just on a different level. So, like I said, if his record was a little bit better than 5-4, I think he could be a lock for Cy Young. But just because that, out of 9 wins going 5-4, that makes me double think it a little bit. But then again, I think that could also say a little bit to the Predators' offense because a good offense forms a good pitcher, or like a great offense and good pitching or something like that. So I think if the Preds offense was a little bit more active this year, I think that record could be a lot better. So that is Ryan Cratch. So the final 2 nominees, we got Jordan Robles of the Midwest Mallards. His stats this year are unbelievable. He had a league-leading 8-1 record, kind of high 1.52 ERA with 1.65 WHIP, 67 strikeouts, and nearly 30 innings pitched. And in his postseason, in his all 3 starts for the Ducks, went 1-2 with a 3 ERA, 16 strikeouts, 2.71 WHIP, and 7 innings pitched in that loss to the Eagles in the NLCS. Robles' record 8-1 is unbelievable. But I mean, really, the only it's just like an exclamation point about Robles and his career is that he's kind of building this bad aura of him of not being able to step up in those big moments in the NLCS. As the Mallards have lost it in back-to-back years. So, I mean, I think that could say something to him, but this year alone, his stats are pretty mind-boggling. That ridiculous 8-1 record, a little high ERA. That's a little high, but I mean, with a team that goes him pitching 8-1 anyways, I mean, I really think it doesn't make that big of a difference when you have that record to back it up. So Jordan Robles was definitely a solid nominee. And the final one here is our 2023 Rookie of the Year, Mr. RJ Walgate. like we just said, 7-1 record, 107 ERA, league leading 150 WHIP. I guess I don't know if it's a league leading, but at least it's a leading in the Cy Young field here. And RJ Walgate, another dominating 56 strikeouts and 25.1 innings pitched. I am very interested to see how Walgate performs next season because I feel like every year we have that one breakout pitcher that definitely slows down the year after. This season, I think it was Brendan Baranowski. In 2022, he was the Cy Young, one of the most lights out pitchers, put the Cobras on his back, on his shoulders and back was Brendan Baranowski. So I'm interested to see if Walgate can back it up come 2024. But another thing that does add to Walgate's resume is his league leading in the postseason 4-1 record. He had the best record in the postseason. Posted a 1.38 ERA, 1.62 WHIP with 31 strikeouts in 13 innings pitched for the Metro Magic, and of course topped it all off with a World Series win. When talking about RJ Walgate's first career season in the league, I mean, it's unbelievable, quite frankly. What he can what he just posted all season long. I mean, from the beginning, he was dominant and just I mean, I think the Magic we brought in and we saw Grant Miller as the savior, as this is the Metro Magic guy that's going to turn around the franchise. If the Magic just traded away the pick or something and didn't pick up Walgate, this team is not winning the World Series. I wouldn't even say they win the regular season or the American League whatsoever. I think if they do not have Walgate, the Pacific Predators would win the American League in 2023. But I mean, for a guy that just bursted out of the scene for RJ Walgate, very, very good for him. So but let's go over here. So once again, the nominees are Dallas Allen, Jimmy Norp, Ryan Kratz, Jordan Robles, and RJ Walgate. Man, so Kratz leads it in ERA, strikeouts, and innings pitched, while Robles had the best record, but I mean his ERA was really high. Still had a very solid strikeout numbers. So I mean I'm going ahead and go and eliminate Dallas Allen and Jimmy Norp. I just think their numbers, they don't really lead anything regular season wise. They definitely deserve a nominee, but it's really now we're gonna bring it down to between Ryan Kratz, Jordan Robles, and RJ Walgate. Walgate could very much win this. I mean, so he has one less loss or one less win than Robles, but he has a better ERA, a better WHIP, less strikeouts, and less innings pitched. So, Kratz, he of course doesn't lead it in the record era, but beats out Robles a fair margin in ERA. All three players' whips are pretty much the same with Robles at the rear, blew out in strikeouts and innings pitched. So, man, this is tough. So, geez, I think if you kind of put record and ERA together, overall Walgate has it pretty easily. Then you throw in whip and strikeouts. I think okay, so Walgate has 8 less innings pitched than Ryan Kratz. So in those 8 full innings, that's 24 outs. If he even strikes out half of those, at the point he's already at 68. So I didn't see this coming, but God, my Cy Young is going to be RJ Walgate. I mean, if you really look at the stats very closely and a World Series win on top of it, Walgate is your Cy Young. I wasn't expecting that coming into it. I was going to try to give it to Kratz or Robles. Wow. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, RJ Walgate so far sweeps the ballot right now, winning Rookie of the Year and Cy Young. All right. Well, yeah, I like it. All right. Next on MLW Ballot, let's jump into Silver Slugger. All right. We have 6 great nominees for 2023 Silver Slugger. Again, with his name at the top of the ballot, we have Mr. Dallas Allen of the Eastern Eagles. With me, I am, of course, a major baseball fan, but I've never really understood the OPS stat. But I've become very accustomed to it when I was researching this. So OPS is overall the most important stat to a hitter. It's just on base plus slugging percentage. And Allen has a 861 OPS with a plus 300, 312 batting average with 2 home runs, 12 RBIs through 15 games in his postseason. I mean, this is where he really took off as well. Had a plus 1,000 OPS with a 296 average, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs in the 11 games that the Eagles played. The full 11 games, I must add. In the postseason. So 312 average, 12 RBIs with 2 dingers. That is a nomination worthy year for Dallas Allen. Is it enough to win? No. But nonetheless, very, very solid year for Mr. Dallas Allen and the Eastern Eagles. Next up here, we got the man, the myth, the legend, TC3, Tommy Coughlin of the Ducks, posted a tremendous 1,026 OPS with a 229 average, league leading 6 home runs, 17 RBIs in the 15 regular season games for the Mallards. So, of course, way more home runs, hit the 4 home runs in Phillies, TC4. Great performance for him. Incredible 17 RBIs, but really the batting average falls way short for Coughlin. 229. I mean, I think a lot of it were the series after the All-Star break for him, as I think that's really when we started to see some cracks in the Ducks. But I mean, of course, we know the Mallards are a very good regular season team. As that 1,206 OPS, very, very good. And then in the 3 games of the postseason, posted a 1,000 OPS, 200 average with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. So definitely a big swinger is Tommy. With eight home runs overall on the year. As Coughlin and the Ducks lost in the NLCS for the second year in a row. I've been thinking about the Mallards because they are one of the most interesting teams to talk about, and I'm really excited to see if they do anything this offseason because in my mind, you can't just come in with the same group and maybe even a draft pick. I think the Mallards, in my opinion, are arguably the number one team with players, in my opinion, that you can trade away and still have a very manageable roster. So right now, on the Mallards, on the top of my head, you got Coughlin, you have Davenport, you have Robles, you have Irwin, and Matt Carlington now and Preston Combs. That is 6 guys for a package deal and maybe even a draft pick. If let's say you give the Wildcats Caden Irwin, uh, maybe not Preston Combs, but Caden Irwin, Brennan Davenport, um, even if you throw in Coleman a draft pick, that sounds like a group for Nick Saylor. Like, I think the Mallards have such high trade stock on their team, and they have so many players too. Like you could return with a core of Tommy Coughlin, Jordan Robles. I think you keep Carlington. I think he added well, and one other player, and then maybe like a draft pick on that team. That feels like a World Series team. So, little rant there with the Mallards and what I think Tommy should do. But sorry, staying on track here. Silver Slugger. Coughlin, 6 home runs is obviously that's just the most eye-popping stat there for Tommy Coughlin. Is it in my mind enough to win? Not really. Just because that 229 average, I don't think you can win Silver Slugger with that. So, moving on here to the Gators, I think one and only nomination. No, they have more than that, surely, right? Okay, Brandon Jorgensen is also nominated for Most Improved. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. So one of the weird highlights for this Gator season, but Jorgensen though, in all seriousness, did have a great season. A 1,205 OPS, 1,205, with an outstanding 364 average, 5 home runs, and 11 RBIs. Tremendous, definitely the highlight for the Gator season. Kind of came out of nowhere. Of course, the Gators didn't really come close to sniffing the postseason. I don't think they will next year. But nonetheless, a 364 average is ridiculous. A 1,000 plus 1,000 OPS, that's the highest so far. So I think of the three that we've seen so far between Dallas Allen, Tom Coughlin, and Brendan Jorgensen has taken it. Here we got the big dogs here to close out the final three here. Ryan Cratch of the Preds, another nomination, a 1,088 OPS, outstanding 377 average with only 4 home runs and 14 RBIs. Of course, only, but Cratch, you kind of expect more home runs out of him, but then again, he did hit 2 in the postseason, along with 2 more RBIs as they were both solo home runs. So, Ryan Cratch's OPS in the postseason was ridiculous. 1,300, 1,300 OPS for Cratch in the postseason, a 400 average. God, this kid's so good. Is that enough to win? Definitely. I think it definitely beats Jorgensen, but these are the big dogs at the end here. Grant Miller. Get ready, folks. Grant Miller's OPS in 2023 was 1,746. Dallas Allen was 861. Tommy was 1,026. Grant Miller 1,746. That is a league-leading OPS. He also leads the league in average at just shy of 500. That's ridiculous. 500 as he went at 483. Swung 5 home runs and 15 RBIs. And I must say one other thing. That is all impressive, but what makes it more impressive is that he played in less games than everybody else. He missed a regular season series. He does live out of state, so it is a little bit of a commute for him. Miller only played in 12 games, and he had 15 RBIs, 5 home runs. I guess you could say that helps him in his OPS and average department. But nonetheless, posting a 483 average is ridiculous with a 1,746 OPS. And I mean, just again, kind of like a microcosm of his season in the postseason, going 128, 1,218 OPS with just shy of a 400 average, 1 home run and 4 RBIs. And of course, topped it off with the World Series. So Miller, ridiculous offensive rookie season. And then Jordan Robles, who's also making another appearance. He had a great 1,386 OPS. That is the second highest on the list here. A 359 average, 5 home runs, a league-leading 25 runs batted in through 15 games in his postseason, though. God, it sucks to see Robles in his 6 days that he shows up, in the 5 regular season days, maybe all-stars, but in the postseason of those 6 days, his one bad day is always in the postseason, as in those 3 games against the Eagles, he had a 5.43 OPS, 143 average, and no home runs and no RBIs through 7 at-bats. So Robles, it really comes down, this award truly just comes down to Grant Miller versus Jordan Robles in this one. And I think it'd be pretty silly not to put Grant Miller as your 2023 Silver Slugger. That alone, as a 483 average and a 1,746 OPS, all in 12 games. Imagine what he could have done with 3 more games. So he had 5 home runs. Tommy had 6. That's doable to come up. Robles had 5. Of course, that 25 RBIs cannot be looked over for Jordan Robles, but I think, ladies and gentlemen, my 2023 Silver Slugger is going to go to Grant Miller, as I believe that makes it 3 Magic in a row for award winners. RJ Walgate for Rookie of the Year, RJ Walgate for Cy Young, and Grant Miller for Silver Slugger. And they have a chance for Gold Glove, as that is next on the MLW podcast. Let's go over Gold Glove. All right, next up here, we have Gold Glove. Now, these next 2 awards are kind of hard to judge, and that's Gold Glove and Most Clutch. Because Gold Glove is on defense, and you can't really. There is a defense section on the MLW website, but there's no real stats for it. So the 3 nominees here for Gold Glove, we have Jimmy Norp of the Downtown Diamondbacks, Grant Miller of the Metro Magic, and Kyle Schultz of the Western Wildcats. I think truly this one is between Norp and Schultz. They're just the most consistent players. I think they're the only two that, like, it's kind of like an NBA thing. How, of course, as of us as fans, like, judging the players almost, you see, like, okay, none of them care about defense, but I truly think that Jimmy Norp and Kyle Schultz pride themselves on their defense in the field when they're not on the mound. So, um, in my God, this is so tough. I am just kind of thinking of awards that go, like, or, like, different plays for them that have been in past years. Um, as I mean, I'm pretty sure Kyle Schultz had the number one play this year, um, with a rob over the home run. I can't remember exactly though. But of course, you just see excellence from Jimmy Norp in the field every single series, so much to a point where you get, like, numb from it. As me, like, Kyle Schultz, of course, makes great plays, but he makes more, like, exciting ones kind of out of nowhere. So, I'm gonna give the Gold Glove to Jimmy Norp. No, excuse me. I'm gonna give it to Kyle Schultz here. Um, I think overall, I mean, giving him the number one play of the year, Norp, of course, he could very much win Gold Glove. But Kyle Schultz, the goat of MLW, like I said in my top 10 list. He is your 2023 Gold Glove. Let's jump into the next one here, which is also kind of difficult to grade, which is most clutch. There are 7 nominees for this one. As it is AJ Ackerman, Jack Agner, Dallas Allen, Ryan Cratch, Grant Miller, RJ Walgate, and Landon Urgaitis. Most clutch. Again, there's not a true stat to, like, to, to like find out what you think, or, like, who should vote. I mean, of course, OPS is up there, but then again, like, for the pitchers on the list, like, Cratch does both. Walgate pitches, Allen does both. But I think off the top of my mind, we're gonna go with players that um, pitch and hit, just because, I mean, that just gives them more of a chance to be clutch. So that off the top of our head eliminates AJ Ackerman, Jack Agner, Grant Miller, RJ Walgate, and Landon Urgaitis. So this is really just between Dallas Allen and Ryan Cratch here for most clutch. I am in my mind right now thinking about that ALDS, that incredible series between the Pacific Predators and Western Wildcats. Um, I am gonna give the most clutch to Ryan Cratch. I think if you listen to this podcast, and hopefully the long future of this podcast, you'll know I'm pretty high on Ryan Cratch. I think he is the best player in the league. I think if you really watch and dissect his game, he's just on a different level than everybody else. Like, Norp is up there, Grant Miller's up there for offense, but it's just Ryan Cratch who's just different. So we're gonna go Cratch for most clutch, just because for his pure like, offense and defensive production. Next up here, we have most improved. Now, this award is either based off of the player that improved the most from the 2022 season to the 2023 season, or just who improved the most from the course of the 2023 season. So, I think the number one nominee here for this one is a great representation of that, and that is AJ Ackerman of the Metro Magic. His regular season to postseason numbers are so drastically different. In the 2023 regular season, he put up a 4.72 OPS with a mere 125 average, 1 home run, and 2 RBIs over 8 games. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, in the scheme of MLW, not a good season, but of course, he was a rookie, didn't get a ton of playing time with his team, and only played 8 of the games. But then come the 2023 postseason, AJ Ackerman, almost triples, not quite, but almost triples his OPS. It jumped up to 1,252. Doubled his average up to a 249, tripled his home runs to 3, and quadrupled his RBIs from 2 to 8, all in 3 games less, and topping it off with a World Series MVP. So AJ Ackerman, a very, very solid resume for him. I think this award could probably suit him pretty well, as that is most likely a winning resume. The followed up here, I love his name coming up here. We got the man Jack Agner, co-host of the Pipe It Up podcast. In 2022, along him with a struggling Magic, he had a 4.42 OPS, 150 average, 0 home runs, and 2 RBIs. Really not a good season. Then come 2023, Agner, um, changes in some parts. He shot up his OPS up to 676 from 442. His average actually took a hit down to 140, so never been too hot in the batting average category. But he got the long ball going for Agner in 2023 as he hit 3 home runs, probably a career high, and then hit around for 8 RBIs. So Agner definitely deserves to be on this list for the most improved players. Jack Agner is one of my favorite players. The Magic were kind of my favorite team coming into the season, but then I just realized just kind of better off as like a viewer from the side. But nonetheless, I think Agner deserves a ton of recognition in MLW. On my top 10 list of all time, I had Zach Whalen at 10. I would honestly maybe go back and try to switch Agner for Whalen just to put him at top 10, especially now with a World Series win underneath his name, and probably a pair of Manager of the Year. So Agner arguably could have been top 10. Probably should have put him up there, but nonetheless, a very good resume for him to try to win Most Improved. Next guy here, I love this one too. We have Trey Flood of the Downtown Diamondbacks in his rookie year, 2022. Had a solid 6.97 OPS for a rookie. A poor 0.91 average with 1 home run and 2 RBIs. On the mound, very lackluster 0-1 record, 4.50 ERA, 3.60 WHIP. Nothing super. Not a lot to look at there. Then come the 2023 season, he just explodes. OPS bounces up to a 1,194. Shot up to a 375 batting average, and I know Trey Flood did that, with 1 home run and 3 RBIs. And then, of course, Flood was really the number 2 guy on the mound for the Diamondbacks all year long. He had a 4-3 record with a 1.64 ERA and 180 WHIP. So a winning record on the mound for Trey Flood. Helped out in the Diamondbacks' 10-5 season, although they would fall short for the regular season championship in the National League. But Trey Flood, it's going to be a tough one. Trey Flood, nonetheless, though. I think Flood beats out Jack Agner in that one. We'll have to talk about AJ Ackerman, but Trey Flood, nonetheless, huge bump in his sophomore season. So following up here, another guy. We talked about him earlier. His second nomination here, Brennan Jorgensen. His pitching has still been, a little iffy, but his batting or his plate appearances nearly double, tripled in quantity, or in quality. So in 2022, last year, Brennan Jorgensen had a 6.79 OPS, 228 average, 1 home run, and 4 RBIs. Very lackluster season. 0-5 record on the mound, 5.86 ERA, and 3.56 WHIP. Jeez, God, that is 3.56 WHIP, nearly 5.86 ERA. Tough to look at. You got to feel for Jorgensen. I think he could be on the move at the draft. I think he should be on the move. But we'll talk about the Gators later, I'm sure. But this season, much better. OPS went from a 6.79 up to a 1,205. Average bounced up to 364. He centupled his home runs from 1 to 5, and then had a great season with RBIs in double digits, hitting 11. Pitching still trying to figure out this new kind of era of MLW on the mound, as he had a 2-4 record, 3.51 ERA, and 3.10 WHIP. So pitching, not really the one to look out for most improved, but of course batting got much better. Does it beat out Trey Flood's just ultimate bump? I don't think it does. So we're going to go ahead, I think, and eliminate Brendan Jorgensen and Jack Agner, as really Trey Flood and AJ Ackerman are the leading candidates here for most improved. Then we got Blade Walker, 2 more candidates here. Walker in 2022 had 0 pitching starts. And I mean, in his plate appearances that he had, he definitely made the most of them. had a solid 733 OPS as a rookie with a 200 batting average, 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. Those, I think those home runs kind of make up for that average for Blade Walker. But I mean, and then kind of his season just like flipped upside down. As Walker did a ton of hitting and no pitching in 2022, but then this season really took on a role on the mound for the Eagles and actually saw, believe it or not, 0 at bats in the 2023 season. So I don't that cannot be true. There's no we didn't see the plate once. I don't know. That's what I have on the paper. That's what the MLW website said. But on the mound, he went up to a 1-2 record with a 3.10 ERA and 2.52 WHIP. Does that beat out Flood or Ackerman? I don't think it does. But nonetheless, kudos to Blade Walker. He's one of the players that I'm very, very excited to watch next season to just see his role with the team. Is Daniel Schultz really done on the mound? Like, is it just going to be Blade Walker and Dallas Allen kind of running the rotation for the Eagles? I mean, clearly it took them to a World Series, so they found something promising there. But that should be very interesting. The Eagles are always one of the best teams to watch because, like, it just every year is just different for the Eagles. As then another Eagle to wrap it up, Landon Urgitis. In his sophomore season, he didn't have any pitching. Has never been a big pitcher. But at the plate, he raised his OPS from 743 to 861. Hired his average a little bit from 206 to 222. Had one more home run and 5 more RBIs, going up to 13 for Urgitis. Again, I think he deserves a spot up here, but I do not think it is enough to win the award here. So let's wrap back around to AJ Ackerman or Trey Flood. Of course, Ackerman fits the description of playing better throughout the year, like getting better, even though like a lackluster regular season, then really turning it up in the postseason. And then Flood, who just overall fit the whole essence of most improved. This is an interesting one here. So Flood had 3, of course, I mean, he didn't get a ton of pitching starts on the of course, Flood didn't get a ton of pitching starts in 2022, so we don't really know how those numbers could compare. Like if he did get his record says that he started 7 games. So if we hypothetically did see Trey Flood for 7 games, how would that ERA go down? Would he get more wins on the mound? As kind of Heath was the number 2 guy for the Diamondbacks forever, but I mean this year just really kind of transitioned from day 1 into Trey Flood. So I mean he did his job as a second arm. I mean really, if you go in and you expect your ace to get a safe winning record like Jimmy Norp did at 5-2, you kind of expect your reliever to come in. All right, pitch a 500 season. Just go 3-3. And Flood went 4-3. So, of course, his ERA took a huge dip, very impressive dip. WHIP went down nearly by 2/3. Flood does fit the description very well of most improved. I think, jeez, I don't know if you could ignore AJ Ackerman's World Series MVP though. I think if the award were just most improved from 2022 to 2023, Trey Flood wins this. AJ Acker. All right, we're gonna give it to Trey Flood, not because I don't want the Magic to win every single award. I think they very much could, but I think just because yes, AJ Ackerman played so extremely well. This one, I think, is the closest award so far. But I'm going to give it to Trey Flood just because of how much better he got on offense and defense. Um, yeah. All right. Trey Flood is going to be my 2023 most improved player. We're moving on. I think that is the first Diamondback award of the whole thing. Yes, it is so far for me. So, next one here we have most dedicated. This one was a write-in And I try to think about this for a good amount, and 4 names came up to mind. The first one was Daniel Schultz. I think he really doesn't get enough credit. Um, I think you kind of think of who puts on MLW, and Kyle Schultz and Tommy Coughlin kind of come to mind. That's who comes to mind for me. But I mean, Daniel Schultz is there every single series, kind of recording on the side. Does kind of puts in his 2 cents. He of course plays every 4 series with the Eagles. So Daniel Schultz, I think, should get more credit. I think MLW uh, does kind of appreciate Daniel with everything he does. Even though a little bit of a struggle to get him on the Pipe It Up podcast, but whenever he does, of course, it is a pleasure. So Daniel Schultz, first one that came to mind. Number 2, just Jimmy Norp. I think that is a very typical answer, but I mean, Norp is there for every single series. I mean, I don't know if every single one, but he's there for a lot of them. You can normally see him in the background at some point. I know he helps out with stuff, and he's also there for a big managing point for him and the Diamondbacks. Always getting notes and stuff. So Jimmy Norp, number 2. The third name that came up is, again, I guess you could call it typical, but Jack Agner. I mean, he just has been through the ringer in MLW. I mean, he's just been a part of bad teams. But I think for him to really kind of show up positive and for all of it to kind of pay off for him and getting a World Series was very big. Him on the Pipe It Up podcast is a big addition. The show would not be the same without him. So Agner, I think his commute all the way to the studio, everything about that Jack does is also very appreciated, for most dedicated. But then the name that came to mind that I think should win most dedicated is Mr. RJ Walgate himself. The young kid that did so much driving to get to every single series, hauled all the way over to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, um, capped off in a World Series victory. Ladies and gentlemen, RJ Walgate is going to be my most dedicated, and I actually think, of course, the ballot could go a ton of different ways for how many people vote, but I truly think RJ Walgate is going to win most dedicated. I've heard, from the Pipe It Up podcast, and I've heard from Kyle Schultz that like RJ Walgate and his parents are so nice, and that he's coming up with such a good attitude. I think he just deserves it. So I think that, if I'm correct, that is RJ Walgate's third victory, as he wins Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and Most Dedicated in my book. And I even think he is an MVP candidate. Yes, he is. But that is in a little bit. So before we jump to MVP here, let's get really quick into Manager of the Year. 3 nominees are Jack Agner, the Metro Magic, Tommy Coughlin managing the Ducks, and Daniel Schultz managing the Eagles. Jack Agner put together a 10-5 regular season after countless uh, under 500 seasons. Of course, was the American League regular season and American League champions, and topped it off with the World Series win. It's always very, very difficult to vote against the manager that won the World Series. That Tommy Coughlin puts up a fight, as he put up his 10-5 regular season, his back-to-back National League regular season champs, as that is also his back-to-back season with double-digit wins. Ultimately ended up losing in the NLCS to Daniel Schultz, who was the third nominee for Manager of the Year for the Eagles. Scrapped together an 8-7 regular season victory. It was Schultz and the Eagles' first World Series berth in 4 years. Of course, ended up in heartbreak, dropping the series 2-0, losing it to the Jack Agner the Magic. So, I think overall, I think Tommy puts up a good fight just because of what he's built with the Magic, kind of taking him from like the ground up. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Agner is going to win my 2023 Manager of the Year. You talk about building a team from ground up. I think you can make that. Argument for Jack Agner, possibly even more. The Magic were so bad for so long, somehow squeaking to the playoffs every year. The Magic were one of those teams where regular season you bet against them just because odds are they won't win the season or won't win the regular season series. But come slate 5 or the NL or the ALDS or ALCS, it's tough because the Magic just show up in those random spots. So, I mean, go figure the team name, the Magic. That's just what the team is based off of. But I think this year was the Magic's year. Um, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have lost it this year and then came back and won it in 2024. I think the Magic have a great shot at going back to back. Do I think they'll do it? No. But nonetheless, what Jack Agner has built by his bare hands with this Magic team, so many guys have gone in and out of the team, but to land on those 5 or 6 players, I mean, in baseball, you talk about how rare it is to see a complete team, and even in football and sports, how rare it is to see a complete team. Um, and I mean, I think you could argue that this 2023 Metro Magic was a complete team. They had a dominant pitcher in RJ Walgate. They had a confident closer in Trevor Bonham. They had a fearless leader in Jack Agner, who has put himself aside as just hitting, is really focused on managing. They have their silver slugger best hitter in the league in Grant Miller, and then you have surprise youth in your World Series MVP in AJ Ackerman. So, of course, Curdy is there. King Curdy should have won MVP. No, but I would make the argument that Jack Agner put together a complete team with the Metro Magic in 2023, and that is why he deserves the 2023 Manager of the Year award. Okay, we have made it after a long, long time of talking about the last 7 or 8 awards here. We have officially made it to the 2023 Most Valuable Player. Now, there are 6 candidates here to choose from. We're going to work through it all to find out who should be the 2023 Most Valuable Player. Starting up with number 1, the man back up here, Dallas Allen of the Eastern Eagles, put together a remarkable season. Hats off to Mr. Dallas Allen. He's accomplished some great things, not just in football, but in life too. Put up the 681 OPS, tremendous 312 average, 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, 15 games, full of plate appearances, and then on the mound, of course, the solid 5-2 record, 104 ERA, 165 WHIP, 51 strikeouts, 23 innings pitched. Now, is that, just being honest, is that a MVP caliber season in 2023? No. Is it an MVP caliber season in 2020? Absolutely. 2021? Probably. And of course, 2010 to 2019, absolutely. So Dallas Allen, of course, one of the best players, without a doubt, a top 10 player coming in 2024. Tremendous season for him. And then at number 2 here, we got Tommy Coughlin III. Look at Tommy making an MVP nominee here. 126 OPS, 229 average, 6 home runs, 17 RBIs, 15 games. All on offense for him, all while managing the Mallards alongside Matt Collington, kind of acting as co-managers, not really. Tommy, again, is it enough to win MVP? No. I don't know if that's a MVP nominee for me. I'll just say it. But I mean, of course, if you lead the league in home runs, your name got to pop up somewhere. So Tommy Coughlin, of course, respect you. Hats off to another great season. Hopefully, I wish them out success in 2024 here. But here we go. Starting with one of the the more real ones, in my opinion here, we have Ryan Cratched. Again, MVP. He won it last year. He is the reigning MVP here. And this season at the plate, he had a 1+1,000 OPS, 1,088 with a tremendous 377 average, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs through 15 games. And on the mound, of course, the 5-4 record, league leading 1.0 ERA, league leading 84 strikeouts with a 154 WHIP, league leading 33 innings pitched. Tremendous year for Ryan Cratch. Jordan Robles on the mound, 8-1 record, first place in MLW. 1.52 ERA, little high there. 1.65 WHIP, 67 strikeouts, and nearly 30 innings pitched, and then at the plate, 1,386 OPS, 359 average, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs in 15 games. Then we have Grant Miller and RJ Walgate here. Closing it out, of course, we know what Miller put up on offense, and we know what Walgate put up on defense, while pitching. But every year there are really 3 finalists. This year, I'm going to file it down here to 2 finalists, in my opinion, for MVP. Um, I'm just gonna say I'm giving an unfair advantage to players that do both, where they hit and pitch, because I mean, I'll be down to have, like, if a player just has an absolutely tremendous season, similar to what we saw from Grant Miller. I mean, it has to be really, really good, but I mean, if you could, like, make an argument for Miller being the best hitter, but then you back it up with Jordan Robles, who had similar numbers and then one of the best pitchers in the league. So we are going to head and go and eliminate RJ Walgate, Grant Miller, Tommy Coughlin, and Dallas Allen for the most valuable player sweepstakes, as this brings the entire episode down to Ryan Kratch and Jordan Robles. Let's go one stat at a time here, trying to figure out who deserves this. OPS goes to Robles. Average goes to Kratch. Home run to Robles. RBIs to Robles, 25. So that is 3-1 Jordan. Robles with the better record. Kratch with the better ERA. Kratch with a better whip and more strikeouts and innings pitched. So, jeez, both guys made it to the championship series in their respective leagues where they both fell short. Believe it or not, coming in 2024, my World Series prediction was Mallards over Preds. God, this is so tough. Ryan Kratch, of course. Talk about him all episode long. One of the best players, probably the best player in MLW. Jordan Robles, though, if you look at the stats, I mean, I think just the pure longevity of Ryan Kratch puts him higher all time, as Jordan Robles wasn't on my top 10 list. I think that's a very fair reason. But ladies and gentlemen, I think the Robles era is going to continue even stronger here, closing out the 2023 season, coming in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, my 2023 most valuable player is Jordan Robles of the Midwest Mallards. You take an outstanding OPS with an outstanding average, solid home runs, crazy RBIs, crazy record, tremendous strikeouts. I think it just all adds up to Jordan Robles winning the 2023 MVP award. So, wrapping it up here, 2023 Rookie of the Year, RJ Walgate. Cy Young, RJ Walgate. Silver Slugger, Grant Miller. Gold Glove, Kyle Schultz. Most Clutch, Ryan Kratch. Most Improved, Trey Flood. Most Dedicated, RJ Walgate. Manager of the Year, Jack Agner. Most Valuable Player, Jordan Robles. Whew, that was a big one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this doozy of an episode here, episode number 2 of MLW Vault and the books here. Top link in the description is the ballot. Fill it out if you have yet to already. Like I said, voting closes on January 11th, which is tomorrow for me. Not sure when that day, if it means that closes like tonight or tomorrow night. Be sure to vote if you haven't already. Second link in the description is going to be the link to the MLW YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed there, be sure to subscribe. I'm sure the award show will be out pretty soon. Then the third link, MLW Vault, this podcast has a YouTube channel. That is going to be the third link in the description. If you'd like to go and subscribe, there's going to be video versions to all of these episodes where it's just like a screen that says MLW Vault with the entire episode, and then and then we'll go fourth link. We'll have the MLW website, just to kind of have all of these stats that I got in this episode were on the MLW website. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. On next episode, we're going to be redrafting every draft in MLW history, as that is next on MLW Vault. But until then, I'll see you next time. Peace.